Yo, what is up? Welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to be reacting to a debate Pearl Davis had with a feminist political journalist on Piers Morgan's show. And I'm not even gonna hold y'all to it, man. We just gonna get right into it. Let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments section, man.
Davis has racked up a legion of online followers and plenty of breathless newspaper coverage by sharing her incendiary views on modern feminism. The New York Post called her the female Andrew Tate. So she tapped into genuine female pushback to the excesses of wokery, or is she just an attention seeker?
I'm doing this for money. It's all about money to me.
We'll find out in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the clip that sent her viral.
A lot of people think I'm insane because I don't think women should vote. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for this opinion. If anything, this is probably my most extreme opinion. 90% of women have been on birth control. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. 1 out of 3 women has an STD. Average body count is over 5, so that your average wife has slept with over 5 people. 95% of women are not virgins on their wedding days. So I understand the complaint.
Okay, well, Pearl joins me now alongside political journalist Ava Santini, who was nodding furiously along there to everything she heard. Right, Pearl, you've be called the female Andrew Tate. How do you plead?
Well, I take it as a compliment. You know, I'm a fan of Andrew Tate.
Of everything he says?
It depends what we're talking about. But overall, I think he's got a good message. I think he's good for young men.
Okay, look, you're talking about women predominantly, which is why you've got this big following. And your view is that modern feminism is deeply flawed. I would argue a lot of your proposals, like taking the vote away from women, are deeply regressive. Why would you want to remove, just from yourself, the right to vote?
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. And I couldn't figure out, like, why would women not? No, it's true. It's true. You look it up.
At the time?
At the time.
Because they've been conditioned by men to think that they shouldn't have a vote.
I mean, that's what they say. But, you know, I started reading their writings, right? And what I found out was that the reason a lot of women advocated for it was because they believed it was the beginning of the breakdown of the family. You know, before you became one in marriage, 85% of people were married. And, you know, I hate to say it, but they were right. What has happened 100 years later?
Well, what's that got to do with them having the vote?
Well, it also goes back to responsibility. Again, men are 80 to 90% of the military. They run all of the infrastructures that make society run. So I just think if we want an equal say in society, then be equal. Do 50% of the hard jobs. Be 50% of the military. In the U.S., they're fined $250,000 if they don't join selective service, which is.
Yes. In the U.S., when men turn 18, we all have to sign up for the selective service, which is basically just turning in our information so we'll be eligible for the draft, right? Well, the one thing about that, there hasn't been a draft in about 50 years since, like, Vietnam. Come on. Why are you guys bringing up that point about a draft? And if there were to be a draft anytime in the future, stopping women from voting will be the last of our fucking issues. Now, as far as the military, I myself am an Army veteran, and women play a vital role in the military. Yeah, maybe there's not a ton of them on the front lines, if any. And honestly, I don't think they're not even allowed, if I'm not mistaken. But they still play a vital role behind the lines, particularly in the medical field, which is dominated by women, even in the military. They play a vital role. And then you still have some that are combat medics. They are there on the front lines helping wounded soldiers. You know what I mean? Not to mention, you also have female fighter pilots, female bomber pilots, female drone pilots that are doing massive damage to whoever we have to go to war with. Come on, really? Not to mention, how many female police officers are there? I think there's like I think 5% of all firefighters are female. It's not a big percentage, but still, they're there. Come in with these tired ass talking points.
Essentially the draft.
Okay, but on specifically on the vote, what would having the right to vote have to do with family cohesion, for example?
Well, because again, before you weren't trying to divide a family. It was one family unit. You had one vote for the family. I mean, I don't think it's good for a family to have two votes.
Ava, your mouth seems to have dropped about
No, do you know when it's
3
sort of
feet.
like,
I know.
No, it's just sort of.
Okay, so I would like, I wish they would have asked her when, if she actually knew when the household started having two votes, because women have been voting since like 1920, over 20 years. Or I'm sorry, over 100 years. So yeah, modern women are different now than what they were in 1920, but they're also different now than what they were in like 1960 or 1970. So it's not that they're voting now, so there's that changes their attitude or anything like that. So why are you even trying to teach that to some of these young men?
Bit galaxy brain. I feel like, you know, the stats that you're putting down are perhaps correct in some universe.
Which stat?
And if you guys notice, she's always talking about she was reading some writings, because didn't she do the same thing when it came to the slavery being embellished? Didn't she say something like she read slave accounts of freed slaves, talking about how good their owners were to them? Didn't she say that?
Easy. I mean, just say no.
I think okay. There was a time
have to
where I
think?
started to read accounts from actual slaves. So
It's crap.
They just kind of don't really add up. I mean, just to take you back to the to the women's writings that you've allegedly read. I mean, at
Allegedly?
The time, well, at
What
the
do you mean
time-
allegedly?
I ain't
At
the
the
only
time
one that
that you're
don't believe this
talking
shit.
about, you know, women weren't really allowed to write. They weren't allowed to go to school.
Yes, they were.
Couldn't write.
Yes, they
So
were. That's
actually, well,
incorrect. The first
okay,
female
what year are we
property, the first
talking
female property owner was in the 1600s. The idea that women couldn't work and couldn't.
so sorry, but that would be inherited
No, the
property.
first female millionaire was in the late 1800s.
And
Yeah, that was Madam C.J. Walker. So apparently Pearl watches Netflix, because there is like a Netflix series on it, on how she became I think millionaire or multi-millionaire, because she started a hairline product, hairline products. There you go. Something like that. Y'all know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Don't come for me. But anyways, deflect. Look at Pearl's fucking ears, dude. Don't she look like she should be in the Lord of the Rings or the Rings of Power or some shit? You put a point on the motherfucker. She looked just like fucking Arwen.
was that inherited?
No, it wasn't. It was self-made.
It
She was.
wasn't.
No, yes, it was.
Self-made.
Yes, it
And
was.
She never inherited land.
Yes, she did not
And what law
inherit it.
permitted that?
What?
What law permitted that?
Well, there was no law. I mean, there's always been women that were
But
influential in
let's
history.
let's get on to the vote. So what I don't understand is, you know, a part of your message, I've researched you today, and hang on a minute.
Okay.
You know, your big push is that you care about men.
But I want to tell you a story that really made me dislike men for like a really, really long time.
And you don't think that men are getting enough of a say. But
Well, I care about
hang
women
on,
too.
I haven't
Care
made
about
the
women
point
too,
yet. Because of feminism, okay? What I wonder is when you start making calls out like repeal the 19th, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. How is that helping young men? Because these young men have women in their lives. They have mothers, they have sisters, they have teachers. And they turn around, they don't know how to act around women because you're giving them license to be misogynistic.
I wouldn't call it misogynistic. I say be equal. So again, men
think
do
that's what
all of
most
the.
feminists are
Well,
saying.
then okay, I'd love for the feminists. Please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society.
Why
They're
don't you
open.
go and
They're
work there?
hiring, because I don't equate for. I don't think men or women are equal until we do the
Right.
equal work.
Okay, so what is it, like 4 or 5% of all offshore oil rig workers are female? By the way, I am in no shape, way, or form a feminist, but yes, 5% of all offshore oil workers are females. Now, I do know that there are some that work the natural gas wells, like as roughnecks or whatever the hell they're called. I also know a lot of females that do trades, mechanics, plumbing, HVAC. So that's like another old ass, tired ass talking point that she has, that she constantly brings to the table, that is constantly being debunked. She needs some new material. Her team need to get it together for her, like seriously.
So no, listen. Go apply to be on the oil rigs. Go be a plumber. Go be an electrician. Go be on the front lines of the military, and then we should have equal rights. But until feminists are willing.
Okay, so she's saying unless you do those jobs like that, you shouldn't have the right to vote, or your vote shouldn't count as much as, say, like a military veteran, an army veteran. So if I'm an army veteran, I should have more voting rights than somebody who's not.
To do that, I don't believe we should have the freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, but I don't think that I'm physically built.
And even then, what do you have to go by? Like, okay, so this group of soldiers over here went to combat. This group of soldiers over here didn't go to combat. So the group that went to combat, your vote counts more than the other group, than group B. Or okay, so this person is a general, so his vote counts more than this sergeant over here. Make it make sense.
That you might be, but I'm absolutely
That's
not.
a
You
bit-
said you were a
Wow,
volleyball.
wow.
You said you were a volleyball player, so you've got
to do that.
She said something I gotta
I
shoot.
don't believe we should have the freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, but I don't think that I'm physically built for that. You might be, but I'm absolutely not.
She said she built like JJ Watt. Wow, shots fired.
Oh, it's Wayne Brady, son.
You said you were a volleyball. You said you were a volleyball player, and so you've got more strength than I do. I don't think.
But
that
I don't have
can
more
do
strength.
those
I don't have
jobs.
more strength
But
than
I'm
the
not
average
going to take your
man.
right away to
I don't
do
have.
it.
I don't have more strength than the average man. But again, it goes back to go be a plumber. You want to be equal, go be equal.
But you want divorce to be made illegal.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, because I don't think what we have today is really marriage. What is marriage? It's for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
Okay, so what does a 26-year-old woman with barely any life experience, barely any relationship experience, and no kids, never been married, what the fuck does she know about being married? Somebody, how? What does she know about being married? Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all.
That's what marriage is supposed to be. But feminists have ruined marriage for the people that actually believe in marriage.
How?
When there's a 50% divorce rate and the average marriage
Why is that all down
8
to the
years.
women?
Okay, and that's another thing that they always push. They always push this narrative about the divorce rates, right? It's usually a certain percentage, like let's say 85%, for example, right? They're always saying, oh, women file for 85% of divorces here in America. Okay, but what they're failing to say is a lot of the times the man has already left the relationship, just didn't file for divorce, right? Or it was a case of abuse or a case of infidelity or some weird shit. Who knows? But it's not just women leaving because, oh, I'm unhappy because you told me no about something or just something petty like that. There's usually a very good reason, unless the person wasn't with that other person for a good reason in the first fucking place, right?
I didn't say that it was all down to the women.
So why
But
feminism?
Did you guys just catch that? She says the word women like really weird sometimes. And she caught herself there. But there's other times where she's like, and I was talking to the women. It's like, the women. What?
You asked why I want divorce to be banned.
Yeah.
Can I finish
Yeah.
that first? So I'm saying, the people that believe in divorce, go be in long-term relationships. Leave marriage for the people that actually believe in, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
But doesn't the sanctity of marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin? So you wouldn't be able to get married.
I think she's saying she's a whore, Pop. Buddy, pervert.
Wow. Wow, she just aired her out. Just aired her out. The feminist has took the gloves off. She is fighting dirty, y'all.
What do you mean?
Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin. And so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then, I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
Look at Pierce's face.
That's a fair complaint. I wish I was. But, we can't go back. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, but I just don't think it's fair that you get to be here and you get to be paid for your views, and you're telling other women that they shouldn't be allowed to.
I think
Exactly. See, I said that. And if you think about it, Pearl is actually a feminist. She's not saying that she is. That's not the words coming out of her mouth, but she herself is a feminist. She has her own business. She's out in the forefront. She's on TV. She gets paid to sit there in a chair. She's not out doing a hard job. She's not out being a plumber or electrician or building buildings or even in the military.
Hang on. Okay, if I may, at some stage jump in. Isn't the whole point of being a feminist, though, that women are entitled to have their own views?
Absolutely. And
so she's perfectly entitled to her views.
Yeah, but you can't.
You might not like them.
But I'm here to challenge
Isn't she
them.
exercising her right as a... Are you a feminist?
No, I am not.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. Don't go that far.
You serious?
So once you found out you weren't special and you told your friends that you finally had a drink with your coach and everything, you found out that you weren't special. And that's when you decided to go and file the paperwork to get him fired. Let me finish, please. That's how it comes across. So you go ahead.
When I found out that he was doing the same thing to multiple women, yes, I got him fired.
You don't want to be a feminist?
No, because I think if feminists really believed in equality, but you guys don't, I would love for you. There is an oil rig hiring. There is an engineering firm.
I would actually love to see Ava Santana on an oil rig.
Did she say engineering firm? There are plenty of female engineers, like tons of them. I know at least 2 personally.
Seriously. There is a building being built next to my building. Go do it, feminists. Go do it. And me, I'm
doing the same job that I'm doing right now.
When you find the man you want to get married to, are you saying you will be with that man whatever happens the rest of your life?
Yes, for the vows that we're supposed to live by.
How do you know you can keep them?
I mean, I think it's a choice. And that's the thing, like, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness.
Okay, but even the Catholic Church back in the day would allow divorce in the case of infidelities.
The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a model.
And she's correct. The most important thing is the children. But a lot of the times it's better for the children if the parents aren't together, if there is a divorce, because that can create a hostile environment if the parents are sitting there screaming back and forth at each other all day, every single fucking day. Or there's some kind of abuse. A lot of the times, a divorce is what's best for the children.
Modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
Ava, I've got to say, it's a little bit listening to Andrew Tate where some of it I really don't agree with. I don't agree with the vote stuff. When I hear things like that, I think there'll be a lot of people, especially older generation women perhaps, who think, you know what, she's got a point.
Well, I mean, I believe in agency, so I think that if a woman is going to look after her children in divorce, that's absolutely fine. I also believe in your right to speak your mind about it. What I don't understand...
I'd like to say, even before the 1920s,
Do you know what I mean?
women could speak openly. This idea that, like, women couldn't talk the last 500 years. There have been women throughout
history... I know, but the American state education system has failed before.
Wow, she just threw a sneak diss in there and called Pearl stupid, while at the same time dissing pretty much all of us Americans in our educational system.
There have been women throughout history that have read, written, and been very influential in society.
Okay.
So this idea like women could never do it.
Do you know what I don't understand though is when it gets spiteful, okay? Because you put down a few arguments that I think are perfectly, like, you know, they're kind of evangelical and they're Christian, but those are your right to say it. What I don't understand is when it kind of seeps into this sort of, you call women fat, you say that they shouldn't have abortions, you say that they have STDs. You know,
I mean, the question is, are they fat? Yes or no? The average American woman is 170 pounds. That's objectively overweight.
I mean, let's be honest. We now celebrate morbid obesity as some kind of.
Pearl definitely got some coaching in between the H3 interview and this one, because if you notice, she's being a lot more aggressive. And did y'all notice Pearl cleans up half decent when she's got actual stylists. He's got to have stylists on the show. We got actual stylists doing her hair and makeup for her. She actually cleans up half decent. She's still kind of awkward looking though.
Body positive thing, and it is complete nonsense. So actually, on that point again, there's a bit of truth in that.
This is the problem.
How have we come to celebrate morbid obesity as body positive?
Well,
it's nonsense.
We're not talking about morbid obese. I was actually watching your podcast earlier, and you spoke to someone who was, I would say, probably a size 12, and you called her fat, obese, and a divorcee.
She was fat, obese, and a divorcee.
wasn't.
I mean, like, I don't know what to say. This is the thing, women, we don't want to live in reality. We don't want to say things that are true. Was she fat? Yes. Was she a divorcee? Yes. These things are just objective facts.
Okay, I'm going to have to objectively...
And she insulted me first. They always do.
I'm going to have to objectively end the debate, but it was an interesting conversation. I think we should get you two back together as a matter of urgency. Thank you very much, Pearl. Thank you, Ava.
I think Pearl needs to have like a real debate with a more prepared feminist, because she wasn't prepared at all, really, in my opinion. And that amazes me because she said she was watching her podcast, and Pearl has tons of content out there where she's done or said some real dumb shit. Now, as for Piers Morgan, did you notice he was kind of treating her like with kid gloves? He called her the female Andrew Tate. Well, he's actually had Andrew Tate on his show at least twice that I know of, and he didn't go so easy on Andrew like he did on Pearl. He actually asked questions and follow-up questions. Matter of fact, we're gonna take a little look at it right here.
1 hour video where I explained that, of course, rape is disgusting. Of course, everybody should be punished for their crimes regardless of when they happen. But people are not perfect, male and female. And if you give women the opportunity to destroy men's lives without evidence, there's going to be a contingent of women who will do that. I'm trying to make a balanced and nuanced argument in a world where people have no attention span. They're going to take a few seconds, put it online, decide someone's good or bad, not be interested in the longer format video. And here I am. No, I'm certainly a person who takes personal responsibility. That's who I am as a person. But we live in a world now with TikTok videos 5 or 6 seconds long. There's no content.
Do you think women are the property of men?
No. The point I was making...
Why have you said they are?
Because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle, and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the most religious country in the world.
So you do think that the woman becomes the man?
I think she takes his last name.
I mean, let's watch the clip that you said about this so that we can get it in context.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Absolutely.
But I've been married twice, as it turns out, and on both occasions, I didn't believe that the woman was being handed to me as chattel, as property.
Perhaps the way the reason I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now, that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it, that's not a problem. If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand.
So specifically on that point, I think my sister is her husband's property.
She took his last name. She married him. She wanted to join his family. She has said it herself.
Right. So she's
still a sovereign individual. She's absolutely not.
But property means that the husband owns your sister.
Listen, my friend, if we want to argue about this, you need to go back to the Bible, to the Quran. You need to argue with religious.
No, I'm not talking about anything in the Bible or Quran.
But that's what it says.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I think that if a woman marries a man and she decides to take his last name, that they have different roles and responsibilities within that marriage, and I believe that.
That's not the question.
I believe the father. I am. The father hands her.
Don't behave like a politician.
The father hands her to the man.
See, now why wasn't he telling Pearl not to behave like a politician? Because she was dancing around questions, and Pearl did it real slick too. She danced around them real fast, and hurry up and change the subject. I think there needs to be another debate between Pearl and this feminist. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. Now, I know that all the red pillars were out in the streets shooting their guns, lighting off firecrackers, talking about Pearl got to win on Piers Morgan and this and that. But if you listen to what Pearl was saying, there were the same old tired ass talking points that have been debunked time in and time out. And there was no new substance there. As opposed to what the feminist was actually saying, she was making a little bit of sense on some of her questions. She was backing her into corners. Even a couple times, Piers Morgan had to get Pearl off the ropes. He had to stop the onslaught. So, in my opinion, I think it was a tie just because Pearl was being super aggressive, and she was making it look like that her points were good and valid when they were just more or less like, meh. But like I said, let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. As for now, it's your boy Charm for UDP Unfiltered Discussions Podcast. I'm out this bitch. Peace.